Welcome to a special podcast for In the Money players, focusing on the New York Showcase Day Stakes on Monday afternoon, Memorial Day at Belmont Park. We'd like to thank our friends at the New York Thoroughbred Breeders and the one and only executive director of the New York Thoroughbred Breeders, Naja Thompson, for making this possible. Nick Tammaro here, of course, joined by Andy Serling to go over these stakes races. If it's New York and it's stakes racing, it's got to be you, my man.
Don't you think you should put a tie on, just so I wouldn't be the only one?
I'm going to wear this at Sam Houston tonight, too. It's casual Saturday.
You got to dress up for the quarters. Is there anything special for closing night at quarters?
I'm gonna have a party. I'm gonna take tips on what I can do with my extra free time.
I'm sure you'll find another job.
Yeah, I'll probably will. So anyway, this is a fun day of racing year in and year out. Last year, of course, we had some weather that affected it, but it'll be nice to be back on the turf for these stakes races. The weather, of course, looks good. I know everybody out there is completely obsessed with the weather, so we can tell you even 48 hours before post time when we're taping this, the weather is supposed to be clear, and things are going to get started as usual at 1 o'clock Eastern. We're going to cover the stakes races here, which begins with the stakes part of the card, begins with the Mount Vernon in race number 2. And, Andy, I thought this field is compact, but it's actually pretty competitive, and I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to sort of play against, and I'm going to be looking over my shoulder because I did make a bet in the third race at Belmont. I'm just so sick of the classic ladies, with all due respect, and Giacosas of the world, and I just want new faces. And to me, this is like the test. Can Runaway Rumor still run? If she can still run, she's going to win this race. And I think you're just supposed to bet her. She's not going to be a favorite, I don't think. I don't know, maybe 3-1, somewhere in that range. And if she can still run, and she was in a ridiculous spot last time, got bad position in there. The Tampa race, 1.1 miles off a layoff, a mile around one turn. She's more of a 7 furlong to a mile, one turn type. I like her. And I even wonder a little bit. I know she's the one beat nobody last time, but I kind of wonder if she could be a new face in the scene that could maybe improve a little bit, be a contender.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I actually wonder, I was going to ask you, because of course we're taping this before David Aragona's morning line has come out, and I wondered who he's going to make the favorite. I thought he would make Runaway Rumor the favorite. He might. I mean, they might be up as of right now. Her race
Go ahead. Can you see me? Or did I block?
I do, yeah. Her race.
She's the 9 to 5. Yeah, she's 9 to 5. And the outside is 5 to 2. So yes, you're correct.
Yeah, I thought her race in the Hillsborough, when it happened, was a lot worse than it actually was. And I think that knowing that turf course had some moisture, and the fact that the pace was pretty strong, all things considered, I think it probably it dragged her into the race a little bit earlier than she wants to be. She's most effective just being a complete, laid back one-run closer. And then she ran an even race in the Bogey, I guess. Nothing that I think you could.
Well, she's trying to close with what's her name, Lamista in the stretch.
Yeah,
I know Lamista's not a grade 1 horse, but she's probably better than these horses.
Yeah, it seems to be for sure. It looked to me like Giacosa, if she's going to be competitive in stakes races, and I'm really not sure how much she will be in the New York bred ranks, it would probably be more so at Saratoga if she can take a step forward, second off the layoff. Classic,
she can win. She's not.
She can win, but I agree. I thought Runaway Rumor was definitely the horse to beat. Any consideration given, and I know I didn't, but I mean, I thought Silky Blue actually had a shot to wire the Ticonderoga last fall. I just don't see her getting this distance.
I agree, and I picked her that day, and she had everything her own way. I mean, we got exactly what we were hoping to get. A mile and a 16th on the inner is a much easier race to wire than a mile on the Widener. She is the controlling speed if you want her. I don't think she can get a mile on a flat bed against these horses.
Yeah, I think this is one of those races where there are a lot of times where you can take the lone speed angle and really beat it to death and make too much of it. And I think this is one where she's the lone speed, but it probably doesn't matter terribly much, because when push comes to shove, she's really not good enough to win the race. So, see, I have this angled better because the Belmont race is running on my TV above the computer, so I can actually.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
I got what I deserve with the horse that I picked in the third race. So,
who did you pick in the third race?
The 4.
Oh, okay.
She's not going to win unless it's a miracle in the last 16th of a mile.
Well, we only know at this point they're at the 3/8 pole, and I know that a light will find a way to lose.
They're a lot closer. They're a lot farther along in mine. It's a stagger fest, the wire between the two. It looks like the 8 is going to win. Is that Lord Brownie? Wow.
Lord Brownie.
But they had a bit more in the race. It was the only
Big
thing
smart turn move to get the job done.
One was dead last. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's the Mount Vernon, the first of 5 stakes races. We will move along to race number 6, which is the Critical Eye. I was actually going to say the Empire Distaff because I was looking at the Empire Distaff earlier to see how many horses were in there and how many of them are back in here. This is a race where I thought it was, I don't know if I would use the word remarkable, but it was pretty notable how many horses in this race have been competitive in open company races. It says a lot about the New York bred program as well, that it's really come a long way in terms of how strong the division is top to bottom. There are a couple of those in here. Where did you land in this Critical Eye?
Honestly, I would be surprised if the winner isn't Make Mischief or Bank Sting. I know Make Mischief took advantage of a good rail when she won 2 back, but I kind of took her over Bank Sting. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. Maybe she'll be a little bit of a better price. Bank Sting is fine. I don't have a knock on either one. I just don't know who else is going to win. I don't like Maiden Beauty. She's not supposed to get the lead from Mashney Girl, and Maiden Beauty was extremely opportunistic. I thought Love and Love, if you wanted to price, had a little bit of a shot, but I make Mischief and Bank Sting. I didn't have anything clever to say in here.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Make Mischief got a slight nod over Bank Sting. I think her effort 3 starts back in the Empire Distaff was actually pretty solid, all things considered. Good. And I think that's the comparable performance. She, of course, was a runner-up in the Fleet Indian and a very good effort last year on Travers Eve at Saratoga when she probably was maybe a little bit against the track profile. I don't think it was a big rail that day, but it was a day where she, of course, broke through the gate a little bit before the start. And
the mile and 8 may be kind of a stretch for her, too.
Yeah, I think so, too. I always felt like the mile was really her best game, and in fact, it yielded her best performance aside from that gold rail enhanced effort 2 starts back when she was 3rd in the Acorn last year on the Belmont Stakes undercard. Race 7 is the Bowery. And of course, the most important question in here is because we have November Rain competing. Are you Guns N' Roses fan?
I'm not a fan. I saw them in concert at the Garden in '91. But it was their last official tour. Soundgarden warmed up.
Wow.
It's a good old days when you could scalp tickets to the Garden for nothing. We bought 8th row center seats out front for like $15 each.
Man,
I think JFK Jr. was sitting in front of us. Seriously.
Yeah, those were the days.
They came on, it was a Monday night. They came on crazy late. It was fun.
I'm sure it was.
I think that was it. I think that was the Lose Your Illusion tour thing. It was the end.
Yeah. Best Guns N' Roses song, in my opinion, November Rain. And she is a horse who I think last year.
Child of Mine?
I like Sweet Child of Mine as well. But of course, there's a big racing angle on the November Rain video itself.
Yeah,
people playing in it. I knew it was not something that would get by you.
I just like when this horse won its maiden race. Can't Hurry Love was in there. It was
that's a great.
He said all horses named after songs.
I'll tell you the other funny thing, and not that I'm saying anything disparaging about your colleagues, but Maggie Wolfendale was the only person that made a Guns N' Roses reference on the show.
I was on the air. I wasn't on the air, and somebody said to me that Maggie was the only one who knew.
It was pretty. It may have been
an embarrassing moment for the Nair TV crew.
Yeah. Anyway, this ends up, of course, we're going to scratch Liberty Flame out of here. Not that she would have had much of an impact because she's going to run today, later on in the card. I guess the real question here is, are we expecting a bounce back from Yo Cuz? I know you and I have not really been particularly huge Yo Cuz fans.
I had forgotten the video situation in this horse's last race until I tried to watch the replay. Do you remember what happened? It's the only time I've ever seen this happen. The cameraman lost control of the camera when they broke from the gate.
Yeah.
So the only way you can see the stumble is the head on. And she did stumble after the start. Clearly cost her position. My problem with Yo Cuz is that she's a phony going into the race. And while, she lost all chance to start last time, she's completely dressed up by unusual circumstance in her prior races. And unless November Rain falls down coming out of the gate, November Rain is a faster horse, I think, than she is by a lot. So I expect November Rain to be in front. I think November Rain's the horse to beat. It's a tricky race because I don't trust Yo Cuz, though she can win. Sterling Silver's a horse that only ran well on a gold rail. And the only other horse in the race is Captain's Daughter, who I think is a little bit interesting in this race, legitimately had an excuse when 3rd behind Yo Cuz. So to me, I'm sort of the 1 in 5. And there's a part of me that I haven't made a final decision. I'm thinking of picking Captain's Daughter just because she's going to be a better price, even though I think November Rain's probably going to win. I don't love Captain's Daughter, but I'm not so sure that she doesn't fit in here.
Yeah, I'm not either. And I think actually there are things to like that you alluded to. And she probably stands to benefit from a race flow perspective more than anybody because I think the pace in here has to be, it's not going to be hot. It's never hot.
But the 1 and 2 have to go.
Well, and how far can Kendrick let them get away on adversity? Right. I mean, I know the speed that she showed to back in the Gemma was obviously very, very significant. So if she keeps them company, then that's going to quicken this thing enough to set up a late running type like Captain's Daughter. I also think there's as you said, landing on the 1 and 5, there's a world in which November Rain kind of drops into the pocket and sits just off of them and ends up getting the right kind of trip from there. So I guess what it boils down to, and you touched on Sterling Silver, is how you feel about her ability to run well moving back into New York bred company. And her first 2 starts were both pretty dressed up by circumstance.
Yeah, I mean, she's okay, but I don't think she's that good. She might win. I mean, I'm not in love with anybody here, but I'm not picking Yokas.
Yeah, that Franklin Square was not one of the stronger New York bred races that we saw in 2021. The other 7 furlong 3-year-old race is the 8th, the Mike Lee, for the first leg of the Big Apple Triple, which, hey, there might not be a crown that had a horse contest all 3, but somebody could definitely run in all 3 legs of the immortal Big Apple Triple. You have horses coming together that have seen each other a few times pretty regularly in the past. I don't know about you, but it felt like pretty much any way you drew this up, Woohoo, That's Me figures to get a really nice trip on the outside.
Yeah, I actually thought this was probably one of the most competitive races on the whole card, because at least you do have some potentially okay horses. I mean, Agility and Rotkney have some talent. In Van Alley could be okay. Best Idea might be able to put it together. I don't trust him. Hot Rod Rumble's improved. Ooh, That's Me is way the horse to beat. I'm going to pick him on top. I'm not. I thought he ran very well last time. You look at the race. He dropped back to last after the start. He made that big wide run. I mean, he saved ground and angled out gradually on the turn, but really bobbled a little at the start. I just thought he ran very well. And Hot Rod Rumble has improved, but he kind of had the run of the race sitting outside. Now, he might be improved, but he's got to get 7. And I just think Woohoo, it's not like Woohoo, That's Me doesn't have good form to go back on last year. I think the horse that's the most worrisome to that horse is Tin Pan Alley. I mean, it's sort of interesting that Chad Brown had 2 horses off of maiden limbs that he could have run in here. He's running aggregation?
Aggregation earlier.
He's the horse in the third race, right?
Yeah.
Aggregation. He's running that one and another one as a 1, and he's running this one in this race. And I'm not clear that the other one doesn't look a little better.
Right.
So it seems like he must be pretty bullish on this horse to be running him in here.
Yeah, would stand to reason. I'm guessing maybe the thought is that aggregation could end up scooping them up later on. I guess aggregation probably looks like he might get a little bit better with distance, whereas Tin Pan Alley might top out at 7 to 8 furlongs. Who knows? But one thing we do know is that when these decisions are made by a guy like Chad, they're usually right. And right. This horse's win in November was very good. Eminency, of course, who is still trying to break his maiden and is going to try today on the turf. He's not going to win. But he was a solid. He was a good horse his first couple starts.
He went bad, right?
Yeah, he was actually a much better horse then than he is now. So I wouldn't try and discredit Tin Pan Alley's effort at all. And Rotkney, who of course won the debut effort for Tin Pan Alley, that came during an 8 for 12 run from Mike Maker around that weekend last year. And that run I think ended with Whitney Day or the day. I think
it started when my Talking Horses partner declared him dead.
That's usually how it goes. Yeah.
Not that we haven't woken up our share of people as well, right?
Oh, I have remarkable talent when it comes to
You're
that.
Incredible. You woke somebody up recently? Was it Donk? No, you woke somebody up.
I wouldn't say anything bad about Donk. I wouldn't say anything bad about Donk publicly for sure. I like Dave.
We weren't saying anything bad about Mike.
It's you and I. Yeah, it could have been. It was. I don't know. The list is longer than
you woke somebody up with me recently. That was incredible. I think the guy won 2 races the next day.
Oh, I know who it was. I don't know if I was talking to you about it, but I definitely made a comment about Ian Wilkes and then his 2 horses.
Yeah, you woke him up.
Yeah,
you woke him up.
I got him. So if Ian's out there listening or anybody in the Wilkes family, you can send me a gratuity of some sort for doing so. Yeah, no, Ian will be fine. He can take it. He will be fine long term as well. His career has been very, very strong. The stakes action on this New York Showcase Day culminates with the Kingston at 1 1/16 on the inner turf. And this is an interesting bunch as well, in my opinion, talking about horses that have been competitive against Open Company. You have last year's Dinner Party winner and Some Like It Hot Brown, who of course won the Mohawk to cap his 2021 back off the layoff, and Cross Border, the other Mike Maker entrant who has plenty of credentials to win a race like this. Those two battle with horses that really have hinted at having the ability to take both of them down, like City Man, who trying to rebound off a poor effort in the Fort Marcy on a bog, and Sanctuary City, who's run a number of good races. I thought this was an interesting race.
Yeah, the problem is the best horse in the race is completely loose.
Yeah.
And I understand it's really moto to be picking Some Like It Hot Brown, but it's just sort of ridiculous. Who's going to run with him? I mean, Christophe never wants to be aggressive with City Man. And he's not really as fast. I don't really trust him, but I don't see a position to take against him. I respect Sanctuary City. I'm going to have him at least second. I'm going to pick one of the two of them on top. And City Man can win. And I think Joel will get the prerequisite good position behind him. But what is the argument against Some Like It Hot Brown?
I suppose if there was anything, it'd be the layoff, but I don't know why that's supposed to be a huge concern. This is a horse who's run well fresh. And I mean, you can't take anything from his 2021 debut. They got involved in a suicidal pace in the making.
Ran all right that day.
What's that?
He ran all right that day.
I was going to say he ran very well when you consider the pace of the race. But yeah, I mean, and the other thing is, as you alluded to, there's not a horse in here that you could see. I don't want to use the word sacrificing themselves, but getting involved that has shown even a modicum of speed outside of City Man. And as you said, it seems as if Christophe has been quite reticent to have City Man's positional speed used, even though he's run quite well in those scenarios on a number of occasions. And I actually thought he had a big chance in the Fort Marcy because he would be forwardly placed. And he was kind of dragged off the pace that day. And
I agree.
Ultimately, those horses are too good for him on that condition.
Well, it's also a bog. I mean, you can't fault him. His last race, it was a total bog. The horse that I think is a little interesting in here, I don't think he's good enough to win, but I think Ocala Dream potentially could take a step forward and be a contender against these horses at some point this year. He's a little bit of a stretch right now, but I actually thought he ran pretty well last time behind Flop Shot.
Yeah, I agree. That's obviously a much tougher field, top to bottom. Flop Shot. Although I shouldn't really discount.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say, but Flop Shot's a good horse. I think he's the best
horse.
race he's ever run. For a trainer, his horses always need to start off layoffs.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's inconceivable that Ocala Dream improves, and as a huge bomb, he'd be at least a C somewhere. How is he going to leapfrog all of City Man, Sanctuary City, and Some Like It Hot Brown, much less Cross Border?
Yeah, it seems unlikely. And Cross Border does have the advantage of having had a prior start in 2022. He's actually had a couple, including the one and only Grade 1 Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational. And he's a horse that obviously is good enough, but at a mile and a 16th on the inner with the likes of Some Like It Hot Brown possessing such a pace advantage, it seems far-fetched.
It's just hard for me to pick against Some Like It Hot Brown here, and I want to. But what is the strong case against him?
Yeah,
I don't layoff, but
I don't see one. This is a horse who's been Maker has been very conservative in terms of running. And well, he's not conservative. He's been aggressive with him, but he's been conservative in terms of the number of times he's tried New York breds. And obviously, he's just very good when he's facing New York breds. He's a bit better horse. So I agree. I think he'll be very, very tough. If this was on the Widener, I'd probably give Sanctuary City a little bit more chance. Yeah.
I wish it was on the Widener. Sanctuary City have a much better chance. People don't know it. The Widener's just a much more favorable course for closers.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of mile and a 16th on the inner for stakes races.
I wish we would. I thought we were going to stop doing it. It just may have been a tough situation with so many races being on the grass. But I would have run this one and then run the last race. I don't know. Can we not run 7 furlongs on the inner? Maybe we can't.
No, can't run 7 on the inner. So I guess maybe that's part of it. But yeah, you just. You run the risk of becoming a turf sprint drag strip in a way. That last race actually is not probably. We were only going to talk about the stakes, but we can. Did you have a thought in the last race? We both liked Queen of Lies last time out, and I thought she ran a pretty decent second. But is this?
I don't like the race she's coming out of.
I don't either.
I mean, I think the 4 is the worst to beat. Obviously.
Yeah.
She was in a weird spot last time. The 5 and 6 both had pedigree, so I thought they were a little interesting.
Yeah, I thought the 5's pedigree was interesting on the dam side. So kind of a fun race to cap the card. And a lot of these New York bred maiden races end up being very competitive and can yield some good prices.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought the last race might be kind of interesting. I was going to focus on 4, 5, and 6.
Well, Memorial Day is all about New York Showcase Day, and a big thank you to our friends at the New York Thoroughbred Breeders. Andy, big thank you to you. We'll have another chat about this in a couple of months when we look at New York Bred Showcase Day. When I bother you, actually, I didn't book you for that one, but Travers Week to talk about New York bred races.
There's nothing I wouldn't do for Naja Thompson.
That's the man indeed, the guy who has made this all possible. Big thanks to Naj. Thanks again to Andy. Enjoy this Monday's racing, and be sure to take a look at my analysis for the card at inthemoneypodcast.com. For Andy Serling, Nick Tammaro, until next time, best of luck.